Hey there, guess what? If you're a farmer, you can have your low tunnels paid for by the NRCS. They have this cool new program where farmers can get $4 to $5 for each square foot to help with a Quick Hoops low tunnel system, frames and fabric included. It's like free money to help you grow more stuff on your farm. Want to learn more about Quick Hoops and the NRCS program? Click on the link below.
What's been the biggest takeaway from some of your other businesses that just speak to that entrepreneurial mindset? Things that from farming, things you've done in the past that, hey, if you're going to get into this, has been my experience from an entrepreneur, think about these things, do these things.
Yeah. I spend a lot of time when I'm reading, thinking about about what business is about. And I think there's a dichotomy, isn't there? On the one hand, you've got your vision and your plan and your strategies and all that kind of framing your business. And on the other hand, you've got to go and do stuff. Like you said, Diego, do the work. You've got to get out there, dig holes in the ground, put something in, water it, dig it up, take it to market, sell it, collect the cash, bank the cash, account for it, etc., and go round and round again. And I think getting the balance right is important. I've seen businesses where people spend years planning, creating visions, missions, strategies for the business, but never actually get out and do anything. And if you're not doing anything, you're not learning. Whereas for me, I don't know if it's a correct description of action learning, but for me, I think it's important to have that frame. I want to know I'm playing on this field and not on this field. But once I've decided what field I'm in, then you learn by doing. I was very tempted before starting this business to go and do a master's to learn about how to do things as per the textbook, put off by the fees, even though on a slightly different topic, I do still work full time at a university. Sarah works full time in the business, but having totted it all up and thinking of the cost and taking a year out of my life, I thought I'd learn more by going and renting a field, digging a hole in the ground and putting some seeds in and seeing what comes up. I think that's the best way to learn. But you've got to understand the context in which you're doing that. So I think working from both ends, that framing end and the action end, gives you the best chance of success. You can't just go around digging holes in the ground and not know why you're digging the holes in the ground and what your eventual aim is. So you've got to have that plan, but you've got to go and, as you say, do the work, because that's the best way to learn. You can read all the books you want, but until you've really tried to grow a 25-meter bed of cabbages, you have no idea what's going to happen, because you don't know. The book doesn't know what land you're on, doesn't know the soil, doesn't know the atmosphere, the context, doesn't know your customers. So the best way to learn is to get up and actually do it.
100%.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what sort of preparatory work did you do other than getting out and doing the work, which I know is extremely important for all of us. Are you a book guy? Are you like voraciously consuming YouTube content, podcasts? Were you doing courses? What were some of the early preparations and kind of knowledge gaining practices that you did to prepare to get to the inevitable place where you can get on the land and start actually doing that work?
Well, I guess we've run some businesses in the past, kind of more medium-sized businesses than small, just us and a couple of people businesses. So we've got that kind of business background, which helps with all the back end, the kind of the legalities, the accounts, all that kind of stuff. So that work was done and put to bed. We can do that quite easily. Prior to this business, we did run what we call a community interest company. There's a number that is a reference to a company type in the USA that I believe is very similar for a community organization. Can't remember what it's called. And we ran that, and that was a company that focused on improving mental health by giving people opportunities to get involved in growing. And we ended up running an indoor vertical farm, growing microgreens hydroponically in a shipping container. So again, we had some experience growing in a controlled environment. We had customers who were used to that, producing to order, producing quality, getting the timing of the logistics, getting the cash collection, setting the pricing, doing the marketing, bit on the branding. They're still out. Branding is probably still one of our weak points. So we had all that kind of experience, not explicitly learning for this business, but it was there in the background. For this business, we took an allotment, so a small kind of parcel of land in a local allotment and started did start watching some of the YouTube, Tistone, Jean-Martin Fournier.
Yeah.
You can edit that bit out, there you go. If I get his name wrong, I'll insult the guy. Bought his book, started doing the kind of 30-inch beds, certain length, and really took on board that element about standardizing everything. So although we were just on a small allotment, and many beds, we made sure they were all exactly the same length, the right width. We did 30 inches work. It works for my inside leg measurement, but not necessarily for Sarah's. And actually, we were moving away from those, I think, in the longer term. But anyway, all the hoops, the netting, just making sure all that was right, and tried to come up with a production plan. So we're just experimenting with what would grow, especially on the shoulders of seasons, not in the main seasons, but early on and late on and over winter. Made sure we were peat-free, not using any artificial fertilizers, only using organic fertilizers, not using any pesticides. Because until we've got some cans of bottles of stuff in the shed, we've made sure we weren't using those anymore, and just assessing the impact on those. So we had 3 years, I think, doing that, but not because we wanted it.
You were selling, like you were in production during those 3 years?
Yeah, we just did a veg box just for family members and neighbors.
Okay.
Yeah, just to test the market out. And again, just learn. You can read a book, you can watch a YouTube video on someone doing the veg box scheme, but until you do it yourself, you don't see all the little things that are going to trip you up. And there's always things that trip you up.
Over those 3 years, how many people were getting boxes at a time?
Only a maximum of 4 to 6. Yeah. And only at certain times of the year. Maybe that'd only be like for 6 weeks for a set of people and kind of 4 weeks for another set of people. So it was dipping in and out. We were growing very small amounts, but just getting into that discipline of pick, pack, dispatch, collect the money, etc., produce the receipts, just making sure that all that was ticking over, and it just became second nature to us. We wouldn't have taken 3 years to do it. It took us 2 years to find a piece of land. The idea was just to do that for one season, but we couldn't get it. Having said that, we did have a couple of commercial customers. Going back to the Growing Better days, we've always grown microgreens and pea shoots, and we've always provided particular local grocers and a couple of other shops at various points as well.
If you enjoy this podcast, then be sure to check out Farm Small, Farm Smart Daily, where you can get your daily dose of farm wisdom. Tune in every day to learn the latest tips, tricks, and stories from the world of farming. Whether you're a seasoned farmer or just getting started, our podcast has something for everyone. Join us as we explore topics like farm business, crop planning, soil management, and tools and technology. Start your day off right with Farm Small, Farm Smart Daily, available on all major podcast platforms. Don't miss out. Subscribe today.